I reckon you and I can fill the entire alphabet with stuff from the WWE universe. So that is what we are doing right here, right now. My name is Tom Campbell, and this is the letter D on the A to Z of WWE. We start with a D, and then another D, and then a T. DDT. Dichlorodiphényltriothylethane, commonly known as DDT, is a colorless, odorless liquid that is used as an insecticide in some plants. However, if you were to ask Jake the Snake Roberts what DDT stood for, he would probably tell you it stands for the end. It was a DDT that almost ended the career of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, as Jake the Snake Roberts trapped his head in a firm headlock and drove it into the cold, hard concrete around the ring. A moment in wrestling that wrestling fans to this day still talk about. There had been nothing seen in the WWF to that point quite like this gruesome moment. There's now about 1 million different versions of the DDT. Tornado DDT, float over DDT, top rope super DDT, double underhook DDT, rude DDT, DDT. There's a lot of DDTs. There is one D that changed the wrestling game, and that D is D Generation X. Born in the Attitude Era by Shawn Michaels himself, Chyna and Triple H would run roughshod over the WWF, being lewd, crude, generally rude, swearing, getting naked where they could. It was, as the Attitude Era, quite the gear shift. Every week, DX would find new and inventive ways to not just upset management, not just upset the fans, but to push the creative envelope for a Monday night. The DX reign of terror nearly came to a very sudden end when Shawn Michaels suffered a back injury at the start of 1998. Triple H was the one that took the baton and led DX into the Attitude Era with the Road Dogg Jesse James, badass Billy Gunn, and former WCW guy Sean Waltman, now known as X-Pac, bringing up the rear. It was a strange time to be a wrestling fan. It was perfectly acceptable to shout "suck it" to people that you didn't know in the street. Something that is probably frowned upon in this day and age, but hey, we lived in a moment, we lived in a movement. The DX lads have all gone their separate ways now, but it's not uncommon to see Triple H and Shawn Michaels every so often ditch the ties and pop on a green shirt, maybe grab some glow sticks and act like kids again. Dad Generation X almost deserves its own section on the A to Z of WWE. If you catch yourself throwing your legs at another human being, chances are you have done the dropkick, invented by Jumpin' Joe Zavoldi in 1933 and perfected by Hardcore Holly in 1995. You find me someone else that does a dropkick better than Hardcore Holly. You can't, can you? Let's just leave it there. There's been hundreds of versions of the dropkick over the years, but one thing remains with me. How is it that you don't hurt yourself when you do a dropkick? Like, if you're coming off the ground and you're pushing the person away with your feet, sure, that's going to hurt them a bit, but you crashing down on your side is going to hurt a lot more. And also, why is it when a wrestler misses a dropkick, it hurts? You're landing exactly the same way. Suspend your disbelief and keep your chin up high, because D is for dropkick. Time to get some wood, as D is for the Dudley Boyz, who arrived in the WWF in 1999. Bubba Ray and Devon, the dysfunctional Dudley family, made a name for themselves in the company, putting people through tables on a weekly basis. These were the guys that gave us the inaugural table match in the WWF and have been pioneers of it ever since. Bubba Ray and Devon, later joined by Spike Dudley, would become multi-time WWE Tag Team Champions throughout their time in the company. They'd also be the first people to take part in a TLC match, along with Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys. Now they've taken their place in the WWE Hall of Fame, where I'm hoping there are no tables to destroy, because it'd leave a right mess in the hall. From Hall of Famers to a future Hall of Famer, we say yes to this D, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, who arrived in the WWE after an illustrious career in Ring of Honor, was one of the first wrestlers as part of NXT, back in the day where it was this sort of weird game show. With the mentor of The Miz, Daniel Bryan quickly became a firm fan favorite. Wasn't the easiest of starts after that. A slight disagreement with the company involving Justin Roberts and a rather tight tie. Daniel Bryan actually ended up being let go from the WWE for a couple of weeks. Came back as a result of overwhelming fan support, and that overwhelming fan support would carry Daniel Bryan all the way to the main event of WrestleMania 30, when he would become the WWE champion on the biggest stage of them all. Daniel Bryan ever since then has continued, since his return from what seemed like a permanent retirement, to reinvent the game. Daniel Bryan continues to say that his time may be running out in WWE, and I don't know how long we've got him for, but it goes without saying that he will go down in history as one of the greatest performers in the history of the WWE. Yes, yes, yes. NXT gave us a lot of firsts, including this next D, the Dusty Rhodes Classic. When we lost Dusty Rhodes in 2015, NXT basically lost its father figure, the guy who helped build NXT from the ground up. So to honor his legacy, NXT every year holds the Dusty Rhodes Classic, a tag team tournament inviting wrestlers not just from NXT but from all over the place to compete for not just a trophy but for a shot at the NXT Tag Team Championships. The tournament has been won by both combinations of established teams like the Undisputed Era and makeshift tag teams looking to make an impression on a huge stage like Aleister Black and Ricochet and Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. Before the Dusty Rhodes Classic, before NXT came along at all, we had this next D, Deep South Wrestling. The promotion actually shut its doors in the late 80s, but under the guidance of WWE, the promotion reopened in 2005, crowning Mike "The Miz" Mizanin its first new heavyweight champion. Other notable Deep South alums include Cesaro, Xavier Woods, Tommaso Ciampa, and future WWE champion Kofi Kingston. It would only be open for about 2 years because WWE had plans for something a little bit bigger, a little bit more black and gold. And we will get into NXT proper a little bit later on, I promise. D is also for Diva Search. Now, in the last few years, some of the best matches on WWE television have been in the women's division, but we're going to go back now to a time where WWE's search to find the best women's professional wrestlers was somewhat iffy. The Diva Search was WWE's female equivalent of Tough Enough, but they weren't looking for a female wrestler per se. They were looking for a diva. If they could wrestle, great, but that wasn't the primary concern. Weekly challenges on WWE television ranged from bizarre to outright offensive as WWE searched to crown its top diva of the year. Whilst the format was unflattering and really hasn't aged that well, there were stars born from it like Christy Hemme, Michelle McCool, Layla L, and Maria Kanellis, the first ever pregnant WWE champion. It's time to shake things up again! The words of this next D, Draft Lottery. So we established a few letters ago that WWE have split off the roster, so they've got 2 separate shows. Every so often, just to spice things up, normally just after WrestleMania, we would see a draft lottery where wrestlers would be picked at random to go from one show to the next. One of the biggest moments in the history of the draft lottery was when John Cena was drafted completely at random from SmackDown to Raw whilst he was the reigning WWE champion. SmackDown had to scramble to put together a new world championship to replace theirs. Turns out they didn't need to, as a week or 2 later, via the draft lottery, the luck would have it, Dave Bautista, the reigning world heavyweight champion, would move from Raw to SmackDown. Lucky how that happened. It's almost like they planned it, but they couldn't. It's a lottery. It's chance. Have you ever wrestled for the WWE when the cameras are off? If you have, congratulations. You've competed in this D, a dark match. This is where a live audience may get a first sneaky peek at a future WWE star. Alternatively, a dark match can happen to send a live crowd home happy. If you've watched an episode of Monday Night Raw where the baddies have ended up on top, normally when the cameras go off, we see them get a little bit of justice from some invading good guys. So the crowd go home and go, oh, I'm glad that the good guys won in the end. But that's just the live crowd. You and I saw the bad ending. If you know where to look, you can find some high quality WWE dark match action. Stuff like Shelton Benjamin pinning John Cena clean as a whistle long before he was the Doctor of Thugonomics. And there exists online somewhere a SummerSlam main event featuring Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton, but many years before that. It's quite the sight. So that's D on the A to Z of WWE. Join me next time when we will look at 10 miles of chain designed to punish the human body. Bye! Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. You can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/Cultaholic. Lastly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.